Welcome to Here's the Deal, where we educate, elevate, and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. On Here's the Deal podcast, we tell the real stories of business owners, the challenges, the lessons, and the wins that define their journey. And through Here's the Deal video marketing, we help you share your story with the world, creating high-quality video content that's easy, comfortable, and cost-effective. Because every entrepreneur has a story worth telling. And at Here's the Deal, that's where that story comes to life. Everybody, what's going on? This is the day, Championship Sunday. Broncos are in it. Backup quarterback, that's okay. We still got Sean Payton. We got a great defense. So, like I said, we're just going to let it rip. And I'm hoping Payton doesn't play it conservative. All right. Try to run the ball against his defense. Vrabel's not going to allow that. We already know it. Come out, maybe play action, let it rip. Just get it downfield. Because if you don't back this defense off, you got to get rid of the ball right now. So, because they're going to come. But anyway, that's for Sean Payton and Mike Vrabel to work it out, because apparently I got nothing to do with it. Now, like I said, been a Giants fan my whole life, been a Broncos fan since 98. So, been a Broncos fan for a few years. So, like I said, not a bandwagon guy. Don't do that. Like I said, especially growing up, you can't be a Jets and a Giants fan. Okay, you can't in the AFC, and I'm not going to jump on the Bills bandwagon either. Been a Broncos fan since 98. So that is the way that goes. So here we are. We're in a championship game. We got a backup quarterback. And you know what? Like I said, I hope he just lets it rip. If we're going to go down swinging. Let it rip. Do your thing, man. So hopefully this kid can come through. All right, so this is part 2 of the series. Are you pricing for profit, or are you pricing not to be rejected? Okay. In the first show last week, we were talking about, different points where you have to, deliver on certain things, and, but you got to know where your numbers are at and things like that. And this just, this is kind of, we're going to really dig into that this week a little bit more, where if you don't know what it costs to deliver your product or service, how are you going to price to it? Okay. That's one thing you got to be very, very cognizant of, is that you have a cost, okay, to deliver whatever it is. If you can keep your overhead low, that's amazing. Like, for me to do this show, again, overhead's pretty low. So, I know what my margins are. I know what it costs for me to deliver this show, and I know what I got to charge. Knowing that and knowing my margins, but then again, I have a banking background. I have I'm in finance. So I have an advantage when it comes to that. So for those of you that are out there, the whole premise of the show is educate, elevate, and inspire. Okay. So that's what we do here. Now, when you're pricing, part of it's got to be, okay, here's what it costs for me to deliver this particular product, because you got to pay your vendors, you got to make payroll, whatever software you're using, whatever other expenses that you have. It could be, like I said, you got to bring in raw materials. I don't know. Just depends on whatever product or service that you provide, right? If you got to have those costs, you got to add some margin to that. Okay. You got to, and 10% margins are really hard to run business side. And if you got a nice healthy margin, 30-40%, if you can pull that off, you know what I mean? That's pretty ideal, because then you got some room to negotiate too. Like I said, if your pricing is a little bit up, or you got a, really good client or something like that. And, like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can slice that. But if you have super thin margins to begin with, and what if your costs go up? Because your vendors, they're business owners too, and they're going to do what they got to do to keep their business going. So if they have to raise prices on you, and you already have thin margins, then that's just going to slice into your margins that much more. So if you have a good, healthy margin, like I said, and let's just say your internal costs go up, yeah, it'll squeeze your margins, but hopefully, like I said, you've worked in enough of a margin to where you can still absorb some of that. Now, will you have to raise your prices? Of course you will, as according to, but at the same time, you know, you can't price it too thin to begin with. Okay. You got to really know what your capacity is to deliver to. Okay. You can't price out of this world and things like that and not be able to deliver. Okay. You got to have an accurate, good, solid price. Okay. But at the same time, you got to be able to deliver that product on time. If I don't deliver my clients' videos on time, doesn't matter what I charge. I can charge the lowest, I can charge the highest, doesn't matter. But if I don't deliver, I'm making nothing. Okay. So you got to know that. Okay. You got to know what you can deliver on and be consistent with that, because that's part of it. And if you are delivering on time, you know, things like that, you know, your prices happen to go up a little bit, your customers are going to be okay with that, because you know what? You're reliable. Like, hey, you know what? I know I'm going to get what I need when I need it, and it's going to be great. So you can charge more for that, because not everybody can do that. The lowest cost person, you know, like I said, if you go on, is it Fiverr or whatever, and it's super cheap, but you're gonna, if you get a shit product, you know, then you got to go back and fix it all anyway. What was the point of even, you know, what was the point of even doing it? So if you're not intentionally pricing product, everybody wants to be, you know, how you say, the best value, I guess, or it's a, you know, we talked about in that last episode, it's a mindset. Okay. I know what I charge and I know I'm worth what I charge. You got to know what you're worth. Okay. So you have to be intentional about your pricing. Okay. With intentional profits, nothing wrong with making a profit, guys. Get news for you. This is capitalist society. We're still in certain areas, maybe we're not, but as far as me, Arizona, and most of the rest of the state, we're still capitalists. Okay. So, price to profit, be intentional about it. Okay. Know what your margins are, know what they need to be. Know, like I said, make sure you got some room, some cushion to where you can absorb, you know, some increases, you know, that are external that you can't control. And like I said, have enough margin in there to where it's okay. I could take that hit for a minute and maybe not raise my prices. And then once prices, you know, level out or whatever, okay. But if that price is going to be the price moving forward, then I got to think about considering raising my prices, or else, you know, it's going to squeeze my margins, and there's nothing wrong with making a profit. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't know what your numbers are, somebody else is going to dictate your numbers for you. Okay. So you have to be more in control of that. You also, like I said, you want to price to the life that you want, not to the bills that you have. All right. So I know where I want this company to go. I know where I want to be moving forward. Okay. And I move towards those goals every day. Just like I used to tell my clients when I was in banking full time, I would tell them, you know, right off the top, maybe day one startup company, what's your exit strategy? What do you mean, what's my exit strategy? I'm just starting a company. Precisely. Because you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be old like me. Okay. And wondering where the time went, because you were there putting your head down every day, grinding, producing. You're going to wake up. You're like, wait, it's time to retire. I don't have anything to retire on, you know, but if you know the lifestyle you want to live, you know, you want to sell this company, you know, X number of years down the road for, you know, whatever X, right? You got to work towards that now, and your pricing's got to accommodate that. Okay. So have your pricing right to the lifestyle you want to live. Okay. Because again, trying to do a whole bunch of work for a really cheap price, you're just going to be busy. And is that the life that you're choosing? Is that the intent? I mean, for some things, you know, maybe you can get away with that. I don't, like I said, me personally, like I said, no, I know where I want to be. I know where I'm going to go, and I know what I charge, and I charge accordingly, but I deliver what I say I'm going to deliver when I say I'm going to deliver it at the quality I'm going to deliver it at, and I'm worth that price. And I'm not going to back that down. So make sure that you're doing the same thing, because I want you to think about, how many clients do you really want? Okay, everybody says, oh yeah, I want 10 bazillion. Do you really? Me personally, again, I know what my capacity is to handle I want my clients to have that white glove service, right? And I want them to work with me. I'm not to the point yet where I can delegate the relationships to a particular person yet. If that comes down the road, great. But I always want me to be, quote, like, driving the ship a little bit, especially now. Like I said, so I want my customers to have that white glove kind of service and have that feel like, hey, they're with me, I'm with them, right? So do I want 10 million clients? No, because I can't handle that. Okay. Especially now, right now, as I'm delegating things now, things like that, that gives me more time. Can I handle more capacity? Yes. That was the intent of the delegation. We talked about delegation in several shows. So when you are able to delegate and you have more time, then you can dedicate that time to your clients, acquiring more clients, maintain the ones that you have, give them that proper service. Because again, how many times have you bought a cheap product, brought, like, oh, I got this really super cheap AI tool. That's great. But if it doesn't perform to your standard, okay, what good was it? Okay. But somebody can say that about your service. Oh, I can use AI, or I could use this. You can. Yeah. Is it going to do what you really want it to do? In some cases it might. In some cases it maybe will down the road. But for right now, if it's not, it may be cheaper, but are you going to have to babysit it? And God forbid, if you ever want to like have any kind of customer service, God forbid, because it's super cheap, you're going to talk to no one. But when you provide that service for your clients, say, hey, you know what you get in that price, you get me, or you get our level of service. Whether it's, it may not be you, you may have some customer service reps, things like that, or somebody else in the company that can, people can work with. That's great. And that's the point. It's like, yeah, are you going to pay more for my service? Of course you are. But you know what you're going to get? You're going to get me, and you're going to get everything I bring. Okay. So, and that's worth it. All right. And then you got to also think about what do you want your week to look like? That goes back to it. You want to be doing a million jobs and grind. You want to do a few jobs, do them right, price at the right price. Everybody's happy. Customer's happy. You're happy. You're not grinding 40-hour days, 100-hour weeks, or I'm just, exaggerating, but still, I mean, it can happen where you're just working 24/7. You're not spending any time with your family, not spending any time with the kids, and not spending no time with your wife. You're just grinding 7 days a week. Wrong answer. I mean, you can do that if you want. I'm not. You can. By all means, go for it. But that's not the lifestyle I want. And that's not how I want my week to work. I want my week to say, I'm going to set these appointments. I'm going to talk to these clients, set these recording dates, do this, do that. Boom. And like I said, I want to be able to breathe, during the week, not be like, oh my God, I'm like, But again, if you want that life, you go right ahead. I personally don't. Then we just want to talk about, how these numbers do change your life. Because like I said, if you have more time, if you're pricing right, you're making a profit, you're making money, you got good margins, what does your life look like after that? Are you relaxed? Are you less stressed around the kids? Are you, always constantly in the red? Like, oh God, I'm all stressed out all the time. And that's a choice. That's a choice you got to make. Okay. Nobody said this entrepreneurial thing was going to be easy. All right. It ain't no sunshine and rainbows. You know what I'm saying? It ain't all sunshine and rainbows, like Rocky says. It's like you gotta fight. All right. But how hard do you want to fight? Especially in the beginning, you're gonna have to grind, and you're gonna have to just keep punching. When you get to a certain point, okay, like I said, let's delegate some things. Let's create some more time for ourselves. Let's get some more clients. Build up our pipelines and build up our client base. When you're doing that, okay, then like I said, that's where, again, if you got your pricing right, you can breathe. You can live a good life. Your clients are going to appreciate it because they're going to get top-notch service, again, which is sorely lacking these days, especially in, everybody wants everything automated AI world. And I use AI too. Let's not get it twisted, but at the same time, customer service is always going to be, anybody with any kind of assets is going to want to talk to a person. not a bot, you know, because our problems are more complex than that. And I know AI will get there. But you know what? Right now, me personally, maybe because I'm a little bit older, Gen X guy, whatever, certain asset levels, things like that, I want to talk to people. If I got a problem, because my problems aren't cookie cutter. I mean, if it is a little thing, a little glitch or whatever, okay, yeah. I mean, I do chat bots. So okay, hey, okay, cool, whatever. But 9 times out of 10, I'm probably going to have a problem that's not going to fit the FAQs. Okay, the frequently asked questions. It's probably not going to fit in that little box. I got to talk to an actual person. Okay, like a live person. And like I said, am I going to pay a little extra for that service? I mean, why do I have Apple Care? Why do I buy Apple products? Period. Okay, MacBooks, iPads, iPhones, love them, great products. But also, what really keeps me down with Apple and buying Macs and iPhones, freaking Apple Care, worth every effing penny. I'm telling you that right now, because I can call them anytime I want. Hey, check this out. Ghost into my machine, check my shit. Boom. And they're in it and they're fixing it and it's done. Bang. Okay. Worth every freaking penny. Love that shit. And then, like I said, and then I get these little things. Would you like to take a survey or something? Yep. I break down there at the very bottom. Do you have any comments? The only reason why I buy Apple products is because of Apple Care. Don't change a thing, and that's just that. Those are just facts. And I'll pay more for it. And I'm okay with that. So I know I'm going to get a good product. Number one, these things are great. Number two, that Apple Care, freaking priceless. All right. and you can't build the life you want on, smaller prices. Okay. Maybe, when you're a multi-billion-dollar company like Walmart, maybe you can get away with, being the volume guy or things like that. But, I'd rather build, 3 dining room tables, and, price or things like that rather than having to build 55. All right. Or whatever. Or, again, I know we're talking about delegating things like that and maybe outsourcing some stuff, but if it doesn't meet your quality standard, if your quality starts going down because you want to have more volume, then your brand just goes to shit. Okay. The reason why I'm buying your custom table because it's freaking handcrafted, it's awesome. Am I going to pay more for it? Sure I am. Okay. But it's badass, and you know what I mean? And it's handcrafted, and I appreciate that. And like I said, I'll pay more for it, and I'm okay, but if you want to buy IKEA, have at it. You want your company to be IKEA? I mean, be great to be $1 billion company or whatever kind of thing, but you know what you're getting. When you go to McDonald's, you know what you're getting. When you go to, a great steakhouse in your area, wherever you are, you're going to pay for it. Okay, if I'm going down the street over here to Arrowhead Grill, I know what I'm going to pay. I'm dropping 3 bills, no problem. I know that going in, and I'm okay with that. Okay, for me and my wife to go there, it's already like factored in. I'm dropping 3 bills, easy, no problem. But I'm good with that. Like I said, that if that's not happening, that that I know not to go there if that's not working for you. So, but I know what I want, and I know where I'm going, and the outcomes are always going to be different, right? You're going to have to maneuver things around. Okay. You're going to have to, even now, right now with, here's the deal with our video content. I am moving the pricing around because when I came out a little bit lower intentionally, knew it wasn't going to be that long. Okay. I had but my margins were still good and I was still making money. Okay. For my time, because I factored in my time. I knew what I wanted to make. I break it down. If it takes me this long to do the filming and the edits, and then that breaks down to me making X, quote unquote per hour. I was like, okay, it took me 3 hours to do this job, price this. Okay. Yeah. I'm making what I need to make an hour. What my goal is, even at my lower prices when I had them, I was still making money. Now I did up that a little bit because my costs are going up. I am hiring, VAs and I'm hiring people to edit the videos and things like that, of course. So I can't keep my lower prices and deliver that level of service and pay them and live the life I want. So I had to, make that choice, and I price everything accordingly. But you have to price things not so much on the labor, you want to price it on the results. Okay. I know the level of service I'm giving my clients. I know I'm giving them a good quality product that's going to tell their story. Okay. And it's going to make an impact. Right. So I'm pricing to that. I'm not pricing. I mean, I factor in, okay, how much do I want to make and things like that. Of course, it's part of the equation, but I also know what I'm bringing to the table. I know what my client's going to get. I know they're going to be happy. I know it's going to make an impact. So that's a factor too. Because people are, they're not going to buy effort. They're going to buy the results. And, like I said, I told my business coach when I first got started, right? I said, look, I do have, and he was telling me, hey, we're going to price low and get your name out there. And then we're going to go up, which I was down with at the time. But I told him, I said, I don't care if I grow this company where we're putting ads at Times Square. Okay. I don't care. Okay. I'm always going to have this starter package kind of thing, because there are always going to be smaller mom and pop businesses out there that don't have huge marketing spends that deserve to have their story told. And I'm very passionate about that. And that's not going to go away. I don't forget where I came from. I was that guy. And I like working with those kind of clients. So, but now, like I said, my services have evolved. I do have a starter package, and then I got, my, middle tier package. Then I have, another one for where I'm doing, the commercials and the reels all together, like a combo thing. Having different tiers of pricing is a good thing. Okay. Now you're going to have your starter deal. You're going to have your growth, or maybe your middle package, and you have like your premium one. 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to take the middle package. So like I said, don't be afraid to have, and then if you're pricing mid, right, and you got to negotiate, maybe go to the lower one, or if they, you throw the premium price at them, always fall back to the mid. So you got you got room to negotiate. But if you have just one price for a service you have, it's not going to, depending upon the job. What if the job's more complicated? What if the job costs more? What if you need different materials, things like that? If you say, okay, I'm going to do this for this price, and something weird factors in, you're stuck. You might be taking a loss on that deal. So you don't get stuck doing that. Again, it comes down to, if you have that one price, somebody's going to choose that price for you. You're going to say, okay, well, I'm not paying that. Okay. But if you give them an option, hey, okay, here's, this is what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend you be here. And everybody's always going to want it for free. So let's not, yeah. I think we talked about that in the last episode too. It's okay to say no to clients and say, you know what, maybe I'm not your guy, or maybe I'm not your gal. You know what, this is what I charge. This is the level of service I bring. And you got to decide whether you want that or not. Can we negotiate? Can I go a little lower? Maybe. But if you keep going a little bit lower, what's going to happen? You're never going to be able to raise the price on that client. Because we're like, no. We're down here. We're staying there. See, everybody's always going to want it for free. Don't be afraid to push back and say, what do you charge for your services? Exactly. Are you the cheapest person out there? Probably not. So why do you expect me to be? Why do I have to be the bargain basement person for you, but you charge a premium for your service? Well, I charge what I charge, and that's what I'm worth. And it's the price I'm charging is a fair price. Here's the deal. Yes or no? Because we're at where we're at. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say that. If you lose that client, okay, they're going to go somewhere else. Go for it. I'll be here when you're ready to work with me. because they're going to go somewhere else. Maybe they get what they want, bargain basement. Maybe somebody else takes that loss, takes the L. Go for it. Not going to be me. I know what I'm worth, and I'm going to get it, and that's just the way it is. So when you have better pricing, also we talked about this in the last episode too. It protects your calendar. It creates the boundaries, right? I know when I put my pricing out there, people just know, okay, hey, you know what? I'm not in this premium package yet. Mids, pushing it. Okay, let's again. We'll start out, at my, for my beginner prices, things like that. Raw to ready is what it's called. Maybe that works for now. Great, and let's get you there. Let's get you to the mid and the premium package. Okay, let's get you there. It's nothing wrong with having a client start out low. That's okay with the plan of, hey, here's where we're going to start. Okay. But then we're going to work our way up to getting you here and here. Right. So, and that's fine too, but don't just go right for the bottom barrel right off the top all the time. Okay. Don't settle. Don't do that. And, the confidence comes with the clarity. You know what I mean? The clearer you are about what you deliver and the more confident you are that you can deliver that to the client's going to be okay with the pricing. Okay. Again, and it's okay to say no. I know there have been jobs when I was at the bank and I would have made a boatload of money. I mean, I would have made some serious change in some of these deals, but these clients were the biggest pains in the ass. Calling me. I mean, I was at a freaking crap table in Vegas and this guy would not leave me alone. I'm sitting there like, what the I finally, got my chips. I said, okay, let me cool off a little bit. I take this call. Just I'm like, dude, I told you Monday. Okay. I told you that Friday. I'm going to Vegas. I'm not going to be around. And even if I'm there, it doesn't matter because all the back shop's gone too. Dude, Monday, nothing's going to happen between now and Monday. It's not happening. Okay. You know that. I told you that. And ever since that moment, I'm like, you know what? Boundaries. No, this is not happening. When I say I'm out, I'm out. Don't call me. Don't do it. Okay. But when I'm in, I'm in. I'm going to go all the way for you. But like I said, there's got to be some time where I'm like, okay, we're turning this thing off. Right. And your pricing will do that for you. Your pricing is going to say, okay, if you want to come around kicking tires, go somewhere else. Okay. That's not where we're at. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm charging. Yes or no. And be okay with saying no and be okay with letting them walk away. Okay. Because it's probably not the client you want. If you want to deal with all their headaches and their drama and them calling you every 5 minutes, hey, the market went down a quarter point. What do we do? What do we talk about? We talk about pricing for the long game, right? We talked about, staying in this for, we knew it's going to take time. Settle down. I'm talking back in my FA days when I was at Charles Schwab and Morgan Stanley. We planned for this. We talked about it. I told you the market was going to correct. Matter of fact, while the market is going down, double down. Okay. Buy on the dip because it's going to come back up. Most times they do. Not everything. Depends on what you're getting into, risk tolerances, blah, blah, blah. Whole bunch of stuff there. Whole different conversation. But, do you want that client that's going to call you when, rates go up a quarter point or the market goes down a quarter point or, you want that client that's going to call you every 5 minutes? I don't. Do I provide premium service for my clients? Absolutely. Am I make myself available for them? 100%. But at the same time, I work with who I want to work with. And I don't work with who I don't want to work with. And I choose. And I'm okay with that. You need to be too. Oh, if you have the right client, they're not going to argue over the price because they know what you're worth. But a clear, confident message and a good price delivers that without saying without having to convince them. It's there. It's evident. So that's where you have to be confident enough in yourself in your product, in your service, that you can deliver it. You deliver it at the right level, the right price. If you're doing that, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to fire a client. If it's just too much, they expect too much. Hey, let's talk expectations again. Because I told my clients, I tell them now, and I told them when I was in banking, and I told them when I was. It's like, look, here's the deal. Like I said all that. Here's the deal. Here's how it's going to work. It's going to take X amount of days to get the appraisals back. X to this, X to that. And what did I tell you? What did I just say? The appraisal's not coming back for 3 to 4 weeks. That's the deal. Or wait, or whatever the situation was. Okay. So if you set those boundaries, set those expectations, you can do that with your pricing, and you do that with the confidence and the clarity you deliver it with. They're going to be okay. If your pricing is feeling heavy, that's because you're carrying it all by yourself, right? You're trying to carry this price by yourself. Okay. And like I said, we talked about delegation before. You have to be able to deliver what you say you're going to deliver on. And if you don't have the support in place, and when you're first starting out, you do have to wear all the hats. But again, if you're targeting for the exit strategy, you're going to say, okay, I'm here. I want to be here. To get here, I need to do these particular activities. I need these particular things. At this particular point, I need to start delegating out. I need to start automating systems. I need to start using AI, this and that and the third, to keep going towards that goal. That's why you got to know what your exit strategy is from day one, because every decision you make every day, every week, every month, every year should be leading towards that exit strategy. If it isn't, then we got to talk about that. All right. Because we're always playing the long game. We're not playing the short game. We're playing the long game. Even, let's say you set your daily goal, it's to get you to the long game. All right. So we're going to wrap it up there. There's a lot to chew on. If you have any questions about anything, hit the link below. Give me a call. Let's talk about it. If you got questions, especially, even finance questions, I still got all my contacts. I still know all my people. You got a question about finance? I got 30 years in the business. More than happy to talk to you about it. But I'd rather talk to you about telling your story and getting you on film and putting your message out there. That's what I do now. But at the same time, well, I'm here to educate, elevate, and inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. So that being said, go Broncos, and we're out. Here in closing up the show, and here's the deal. Just want to give all honor, glory, and praise to my Lord Jesus Christ, who, saved my soul and gives me the ability to do this show. Without him, I couldn't do anything. Also want to give thanks to my family. My wife, my kids support me doing this and, backing me up. I couldn't do any of this without them also. Got to thank the sponsors, of course. Everybody that, supports the show. And, of course, the fans, the people that subscribe to the show. I wouldn't do any of this without you, because it wouldn't be a show. So just want to say thank you all very much. Continue to, educate and elevate. Get out there, pursue your passions, pursue your dreams.